joining us. I'm Berita RTM and you're watching News at 10. In our top stories tonight, no more procurement approvals without tender process. Two men injured in explosion at Johor Bahru gas station. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim has stressed that approvals for government procurements under his leadership can no longer be conducted without tender. Speaking at a gathering with the staff of the Prime Minister's department in Putrajaya today, Datuk Seri Anwar said the government under his leadership could not continue to allow leakages and corruption. The Prime Minister said when he was in charge of the Ministry of Finance, he had given instructions not to allow his family members or close friends to have interest in government-related projects.
Maka untuk peringkat awal ini saya ingin mengajak saudara untuk sama-sama dalam pasukan ini. Mari kita bertekad untuk menyelamatkan negara kita, mengangkat semula. Hidup rakyat ini umumnya walaupun tidaklah separah beberapa negara lain, tetapi dalam keadaan yang agak sukar.
Datuk Seri Anwar, who was sworn in as the Prime Minister's last 24th November, said he was not interested in digging the problems of the previous government, but to focus on working to improve the people's life. Also present at the gathering were Chief Secretary to the government, Tan Sri Muhammad Zuki Ali, and Attorney General Tan Sri Idrus Harun. Datuk Seri Anwar also called on the civil servants to work with the government leadership to bring about change to bring back the country to its glorious days. Addressing the staff of the Prime Minister's department, his first meeting with them since his appointment as Prime Minister, Datuk Seri Anwar said the civil servants need to bring the spirit of Islah, bringing back a situation to a correct, accurate and appropriate state for the sake of the country.
Negara ini memerlukan perubahan. Suatu tahap yang pernah kita capai dulu, malangnya merosot. Merosot itu baik ekonominya, baik kestabilannya, ataupun disiplinnya. Dan tentunya Tan Sri Pegawai Negara tahu tentang pelanggaran hukum, termasuk isu-isu penyelewengan dan rasuah, yang kadang-kadang juga ada kaitannya kerana kelemahan pimpinan kaitannya dengan peringkat penjawat awam.
Datuk Seri Anwar said the public service is a pillar of the country and it will not change even if there is a change in the government or the Prime Minister. Therefore, he said he wants all his soon-to-be appointed cabinet members to forge good working relations with civil servants. The name of Pakatan Harapan PH candidate Muhammad Fazli Muhammad Ramli will still be printed on the ballot papers for the Tioman election, although he was reported to be making way for the Barisan Nasional candidate to increase BN's chances of winning. Pahang Election Commission EC Director Datuk Zamri Hamli said the status of candidates cannot be changed after their nominations were accepted. Datuk Zamri said Muhammad Fazli, who is from PH component party Amanah, can continue to campaign and electors can also vote for him during polling on 7th December. He added that EC only provides a venue for candidates to contest and the decision to make way for others is based on their own political considerations. Amanah in a statement today said PH decision to make way for BN was consistent with efforts to strengthen the Pahang and federal unity governments. Polling for the Tioman state seat under the 15th general election was postponed to 7 December after PN candidate Mat Yunus Ramli 61 died on polling day on 19 November believed due to a heart attack. Tioman has 28,465 voters, comprising 28,200 ordinary voters, 262 police personnel and 3 absentee voters abroad. The Yang di-Pertuan Besar of Negeri Sembilan, Tuanku Muhriz Ibni Almarhum Tuanku Munawir today chaired the 260th meeting of the Conference of Rulers at Istana Negara. The last meeting was held last June and was chaired by the Raja of Perlis, Tuanku Syed Sirajuddin Putra Jamalullah. Before the meeting started at 11 a.m. today, Tuanku Muhriz took the salute at a Grand Guard of Honour KKU mounted by the 1st Battalion of the Royal Malay Regiment at the Palace Main Square before planting a tree at the compound of the Istana Negara to symbolise his chairing of the meeting. Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah also graced the tree planting ceremony. The KKU and the tree planting ceremony were mooted by Al-Sultan Abdullah and had never held prior to His Majesty's appointment as the 16th Yang di-Pertuan Agong. The KKU was held for the first time at the 254th edition of the meeting, while the tree planting initiative was introduced at the 255th meeting. At the meeting, the Malay rulers are accompanied by their respective Menteri Besar, while the Yang di-Pertuan Negeri by their respective Chief Minister, except Sarawak by the Deputy Premier. Two men were injured in an explosion believed to have been caused by a cylinder containing natural gas for vehicles (NGV) at a petrol station in Jalan Langkasuka, Dato' On Industrial Area in Johor Bahru this afternoon. Senior Assistant Fire Superintendent Muhammad Faiz Sulaiman said the 64-year-old lorry driver was carrying a load of seafood and was filling the tank with gas before it exploded. He said the lorry driver suffered minor injuries to his hand, while the 57-year-old gas station worker was injured in the right leg after being hit by a shrapnel and was taken to the Sultanah Aminah Hospital for further treatment. He added when the operation release team arrived, there was an NGV gas cylinder explosion involving a 3-ton Isuzu truck. In a statement today, Muhammad Faiz said the impact of the explosion also resulted in damage to a taxi and the building of the gas station, as well as the building of a hostel located nearby. Earlier, the fire department received a distress call about the incident at 12:05 p.m. before a total of 14 firefighters from Larkin Fire and Rescue Station were rushed to the scene. The operation was completed at 1:30 p.m. today. Coming up, domestic political stability to continue supporting local market. The Ministry of Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs KPDNHEP has issued compounds worth RM534,200 against 2,205 producers, wholesalers and retailers of chicken and eggs for various offences from 5th February until yesterday. The Ministry Secretary General Dato' Azman Muhammad Yusof said the compounds were issued through 2,205 enforcement actions that were conducted to prevent profiteering of subsidised and controlled items. He said out of the total, 153 actions involve offences such as selling goods above the maximum price, failing to display pink price tags on controlled items and not displaying price tags. On the allegations of the existence of cartels that hide egg supplies before and after the 15th General Election GE15, he described it as baseless. In fact, Dato' Azman said the ministry did not receive any complaints regarding such activities.
Kita cek dengan pihak di mana kekurangan berlaku. Adakah semasa proses daripada pemborong kepada peruncit atau sebagainya, kita cek. Kalau berlaku di situ, kami tindakan yang sewajarnya untuk berunding dengan pemborong-pemborong, kena pastikan bekalan mesti sampai kepada pihak peruncit untuk dipasarkan.
He said this in a press conference after officiating the Sihat Ke Saya program organised by the Association of Wives and Women Civil Servants Puspanita KPDNHEP branch in Putrajaya today. On the issue of a hike in the prices of egg in the market, Dato' Azman said action could be taken against industry players under the Price Control Act and Anti-Profiteering Act 2011 if they were found to have flouted the law. Sabah collected RM1.79 billion in sales tax from petroleum products, the State Assembly heard today. Second Finance Minister Datuk Seri Panglima Masidi Manjun said the revenue exceeded the state government's target of RM1.1 billion.
kita harapkan sedikit sebanyak, walaupun sumbangannya tidaklah terlalu banyak, tapi secara perlahan-lahan bila industri itu berkembang, ia akan dapat menghasilkan kita cukai tambahan kepada negeri Sabah.
Speaking at the State Legislative Assembly sitting today, he said the earlier target was based on oil prices at $53 per barrel. However, as prices rose, the state collected higher revenue. Bursa Malaysia Berhad expects domestic political stability, and the dovish stance of the US Federal Reserve's FED will continue to support the local market. Its Chief Executive Officer, Datuk Muhammad Umar Swift, said that the market has responded positively to the appointment of Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim as the 10th Prime Minister of Malaysia following the 15th General Election GE15 on 19th November. He said the local boss are now looking forward to the appointment of the cabinet members, and everything that provides greater certainty will be welcomed by the market. He said this after launching the share-to-share securities donation scheme in the nation's capital today. Dato' Muhammad Umar meanwhile said the FED's dovish position was an exogenous factor that has been well accepted by the market and is concurrently driving growth and demand for riskier assets. The benchmark FTSE Bursa Malaysia KLCI index rallied 4% to close at 1,501.88 points on Thursday last week. On share-to-share, Datuk Muhammad Umar said the scheme offered two share donation methods, namely donation of shares without a tax receipt and donation of sale proceeds with a tax receipt, which allowed the invested donor to receive a tax deduction. Share-to-share enables investors to donate their listed securities or proceeds from the sale of their listed securities towards charity through Yayasan Bursa Malaysia. Malaysia is one of only 3 member states of the Organisation of Islamic Cooperation (OIC) that are among the world's top 20 halal economy exporters. According to a report released today by the intergovernmental organisation, Indonesia and Turkey are the other 2 nations in the 57-member Muslim bloc that are in this category. The 2022 annual OIC Halal Economy Report was launched in Istanbul on the sidelines of the 4-day 38th meeting of the Standing Committee for Economic and Commercial Cooperation (COMCEC). The report, commissioned by the Islamic Centre for Development of Trade (ICDT), said the exports covered food, fashion, pharmaceuticals and cosmetics, with exports equalising $275 billion and imports totalling $338 billion. ICDT Director General Latifa El Budabdui said the report aims to inspire and empower OIC countries to act cohesively, promote inclusive growth and increase the OIC's share in the halal trade and investments ecosystems with integrity and purpose. Coming up in our foreign segment, 3 Palestinians killed in clashes with Israeli occupation forces. China's major cities of Shanghai and Beijing were blanketed with security today in the wake of nationwide rallies calling for political freedoms and an end to COVID lockdowns. The country's leadership faced a weekend of protests not seen in decades as anger over unrelenting lockdowns fuels deep-rooted frustration with its political system. In Shanghai, near a site where weekend protests saw bold calls for resignation of President Xi Jinping, bar staff said they had been ordered to close at 10 p.m. local time for disease control. A deadly fire last week in Urumqi, the capital of the northwestern region of Xinjiang, was the catalyst for the wave of outrage, with protesters taking to the streets in cities around China. The demonstrators said COVID-19 restrictions were to blame for hampering rescue efforts, claims that the government has denied as it accused forces with ulterior motives of linking the fire deaths to the strict COVID controls. Anger over lockdowns has widened to calls for political change, with protesters holding up blank sheet of paper to symbolize the censorship to which the world's most populous country is subjected. 3 Palestinians were killed by Israeli troops in the West Bank today. The Palestinian Health Ministry said the latest deaths in a sharp uptick in violence in the occupied territory. 2 brothers were killed by Israeli fire in Kafrain near Ramallah, while a third man died of bullet wounds to the head fired by Israeli troops in Beit Umar near the flashpoint city of Hebron. Commenting on the Beit Umar clash, the Israeli occupation forces claimed it had opened fire on the Palestinians, who hurled rocks and improvised explosive devices at the soldiers after 2 vehicles got struck during an operation patrol in the area. The Palestinian ministry said a man it did not identify had died after being shot in the head. It named the dead in Kaf'ain as brothers Jawad Abdurrahman Rimawi, 22, and Dafi Abdurrahman Rimawi, 21. Palestinian Authority Civil Affairs Minister Hussein Al-Sheikh described the killing of the 2 brothers as an execution in cold blood. Hamas, the movement which runs Gaza, said the Israeli escalation would be confronted by escalating resistance from Palestinians. Violence has flared this year in the West Bank, where the Israeli occupation forces has launched near daily raids across the territory. Elon Musk accused Apple Incorporated of threatening to block Twitter Incorporated from its App Store without saying why in a series of tweets on Monday that also said the iPhone maker had stopped advertising on the social media platform. The billionaire CEO of Twitter and Tesla said Apple was pressuring Twitter over content moderation demands. The action, unconfirmed by Apple, would not be unusual as the company has routinely enforced its rules and previously removed apps such as Gap and Parler. Parler, which is popular with US conservatives, was restored by Apple in 2021 after the app updated its content and moderation practices, the companies said at the time. Musk later tagged Apple Chief Executive Officer Tim Cook's Twitter account in another tweet asking what's going on. The world's most valuable firm spent an estimated $131,600 on Twitter ads between 10th and 16 November, down from $220,800 between 16 and 22nd October, the week before Musk closed the Twitter deal, according to ad measurement firm Pathmatics. In the first quarter of 2022, Apple was the top advertisers on Twitter, spending $48 million and accounting for more than 4% of total revenue for the period. Coming up in sports, Brazil and Portugal advance into World Cup's last 16. The national sepak takraw squad continued to miss the elusive gold medal in the men's regu event after losing 2-0 to the defending champions Thailand in the final of the 2022 International Sepak Takraw Federation World Cup this morning. In the clash that took place in the Daejeon Hanbat Sports Complex, South Korea, the national squad lined up of Muhammad Shahir Muhammad Rosdi, Muhammad Azlan Alias and Amirul Zazwan Amir got off on the wrong foot when they lost 18-21 in their first set. In the second set, the national squad could only stare at the title slipping away from their hands when they went down 19-21 to the White Elephant regu comprising Krit Sanapong Nantakote, Tawisak Tongsai and Yotsawat Utai Jaronsri. The first ASAF World Cup in Kuala Lumpur in 2011 saw the Thai team of Siriwat Saka, Ponchai Kaukyu and Patarapong Yudapi beating Nur Azwan Hamid, Nur Shahrudin Madgani and Farhan Adam 15-4, 15-6, 15-11. The White Elephant continued to extend their dominance with their combination of Kritsanapong Nantakote, Chirasak Pak Bongont and Rachan defended the world title in Hyderabad, India in 2017 after overcoming Muhammad Shahir, Muhammad Nur Hafizi Abdul Razak and Farhan Adam 21-19, 23-21. The ISAF World Cup could not be held in 2014 and from 2018 to 2021 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Bundesliga giants Borussia Dortmund scored 2 goals in each half to thrash Malaysian treble winner Johor Darul Takzim JDT 4-1 in an international club friendly at the Sultan Ibrahim Stadium in Johor Bahru last night. The dominant Germans needed just 11 minutes to draw first blood through Justin Jinma before making it 2-0 in the 31st minute through Daniel Marland following a goalmouth melee. Undaunted, the host managed to reduce the deficit 10 minutes later through a fine effort by JDT's best young player Arif Aiman Hanapi. The second half saw both Dortmund and JDT making several substitutions, but the outcome remained the same as Dortmund went on to add 2 more goals. The visitors' third goal of the night came in the 60th minute when Ole Polman rammed home a fine cross from Carlos Khan before Samo Samba wrapped up the proceedings with goal number 4 in the 69th minute. JDT, fresh from completing a domestic treble by winning the Malaysia Cup on Saturday after bagging the FA Cup and Super League crown, tried to give it a go, but no avail. Bruno Fernandes scored twice to give Portugal a 2-0 victory over Uruguay early this morning and sent them into the knockout stages of the World Cup alongside France and Brazil. With Portugal already through, Uruguay must now beat Ghana in their final Group H match to stand any chance of also progressing. Portugal dominated the first half, hogging the ball, and Fernandes created space for himself on the left and curled an in-swinging across into the mixer with Ronaldo, which would have put him level with Portuguese great Eusebio and Luis Suarez as the South Americans belatedly began to exert some pressure. Gomez's wrestling drive from 20 yards came back off the post with Costa beaten, while Suarez hit the side netting from close range. With the 90 minutes almost up, Fernandes nutmegged Gimenez, whose trailing hand diverted. In another match, Brazil defensive midfielder Casemiro took a break from putting out fires to score a scorching goal that sent his side into the last 16 of the World Cup with a 1-0 win over Switzerland in their Group G clash. Ankle injury rarely troubled Switzerland's goal in a dull first half, but showed more threat in the second period. Vinicius Junior time world champions as he popped up with a superb half volley in 83rd minutes to James 3 ahead of second place Switzerland. Casemiro's late goal won him the Man of the Match award and spared Brazil's blushes after a scrappy performance. Ali been on the field for a minute when he helped dispossess Tariq Lanti and fired in across the Cameroon striker Vincent Aboubakar came off the bench to score 1 goal and set up another as the indomitable Lions rescued a point in their 3-3 draw with Serbia that ended a run of 8 successive World Cup losses for the African side. Alright, so that concludes this evening's news at 10. In our top story, no more procurement approvals without tender process. Join us again at 12:30 tomorrow afternoon. I'm Shuhaida Arifin. Stay tuned to Southern Berita RTM and have a pleasant evening.